Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitch Eye Chronicles. I am Uncle Tash. I'm here with Rob. And we've all been having the same conversation on all these streams over and over again. And there has been one of our most favorite and most hated friends in the comments that keeps bringing up the youth movement. And we all know we're talking about LI Yankee King. And I'm not trying to say that he was right because I don't like doing that too often. I saved that for when he actually is. But he's been talking about this youth movement. And I want to take the angle and not come off as repetitive as things can be. What if the Yankees actually went the route of getting one top free agent in Yamamoto, one top trade in Soto, and then filled the rest of the holes from within of who's left in the farm system? Can the Yankees be that championship caliber organization? Can they be a fully operational Death Star if we actually go that route? And I think that's worth diving into because we do want to see Peraza be successful within the organization. We don't want to have to get rid of some of our top pitching. It's going to, some of those guys are going to disappear in the Soto trade. I think that has to be recognized. Is that a route that the Yankees can go that will continue to have a sustained success within the organization and the records? Can they be competitive in the American League and make it deep into the playoffs with that process? Can that work? Rob, what do you think?
I think that's the route they want to go. And I think it can work. They have a really good farm system. But as we all know, not every prospect pans out to be a really good major league player.
Yep.
If they do what you suggested, let's say they get Soto and Yamamoto. Soto is your left fielder. You probably have Florial play center until Dominguez is healthy. You still have Rizzo. At this point, I guess they still have Torres as well. So your infield's kind of set, and you're going to roll forward with Austin Wells at catcher. And pitching wise, I would assume that Clark Schmidt and maybe even Nestor is gone in the Soto trade, and you can fill that rotation out with Michael King and even Luis Heel, who's coming back. Maybe one of those young guys will be ready by the midseason, like Drew Thorpe. I don't think he would be gone in a trade for Soto, but it could work because the Yankees they do have a really good farm system. That's one thing I will give the front office credit for, is they have built that farm system up to where they can say they have a lot of talent that even if they moved some of these guys in a trade for Soto, they would still have a lot of talent that can help at the major league level sooner than later. Clayton Beater's a guy that was just added to the 40-man. Will Warren's a guy we could see next year. So there's plenty of talent there. They have a ton of shortstops, which they got to find somewhere to put them. I think it can work. And I don't blame LI for wanting to go that route, because sometimes by just signing 30-year-old players and older than that, doesn't work. And we've seen the Yankees try that route before. It doesn't really work. So I would say if they do go that route, you get Soto in this lineup, you're immediately 10 times better with his bat in there. And you get Yamamoto, your rotation is deadly at the top three, assuming Rodon's back to his form. And you can fill that out with King. And like I said, Luis Heel could be your 5 going into next season, or even Randy Vasquez. So I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it, but I do think the Yankees are trending in that direction where they might make a big splash or two, whether it's trade or free agency, and then kind of just build from within, because they know you have to get younger, you have to get faster, and that's how you build a team that can sustain a long stretch of success. The Astros have done it. The Orioles are doing it. And the Yankees probably want to follow that trend, but they also got to use that checkbook a little bit so they can afford to do that where other teams can't. So I actually really like the idea, but we'll just see if they go that route.
I think it's the one thing that we've always said when it comes to the farm system, the Yankees have had the strength. I think they've had the upper hand. They might not be ranked at the top, across baseball. But for us that actually look a lot deeper into it, it is a stronger farm than people are giving it credit for. So you can still make moves and get a trade for somebody in the caliber of Soto, while still holding on to a lot of value that you can build from within. It's just, you're taking the gamble now. Will the prospects pan out? We don't know. That's the question mark that brings into question. As much as I'm trying to champion that this might be a route that they can go into, is that going to be sustainable for success? Where we're like, all right, this was the way to go. And I'm kind of going against my own argument, and I understand that. But we're all saying, all right, well, we don't need to trade or sign for a third baseman because we'll have Peraza. What if Peraza is one of those guys where San Diego goes, he's got to be a part of it along with your pitching, otherwise it's no deal. It makes you, then you have to question what the pivot would be. The pivot could be just, all right, I'm going to hold on my prospects and just sign another free agent. The free agents out there, aside from Bellinger, who is still a question mark, despite, the success with the Dodgers, with the Cubs, he's been involved with big market teams. New York is a different animal. New York is such a different big market atmosphere. With the drought of a World Series appearance, never mind winning one, the pressure is on this year. Can Bellinger handle it? Can Yamamoto handle it? Those are question marks. Yamamoto has not pitched in the major leagues, which makes me wonder, what makes me bring into question the announcement, the cryptic message from Ohtani this weekend. All right, let's get some different names into the mix. I'm not a big guy on signing Ohtani. I've been open about it. I'm not changing my opinion, but I do want to bring a different angle into the discussion. He doesn't want any leaks of who he sat with. If it gets leaked out, that team is off the table. They have no shot. How do you think that's going to affect the market? If everybody's waiting to see, all right, what's Ohtani going to do to set the market on the pitching? Where's Yamamoto going to set the market for Ohtani? It's going to be either or. With a guy like Ohtani trying to keep everything so close to the vest, does that make negotiating for pitching that much harder?
I don't think Ohtani sets the market for anybody because he's not pitching this year. He's a different player. He's a completely different breed. Like there's Ohtani and then there's the rest because he does two different things. And this year you're only getting a DH, but next year you're getting the pitcher and the DH, assuming he's 100% healthy, ready to go. You're going to get 2 and 1. He's not going to set the market for anybody because Yamamoto only pitches. Bellinger only hits. So you can't look at that. And I mentioned this the other day before my computer just crapped out on me during the call-in show, the open panel. He mentioned it. That we talked about the script, not so necessarily cryptic. He shouldn't want these things to leak out because he wants teams to be like, this is a big thing. This is a special player. And I know people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the Ohtani love. They don't like that Ohtani gets more love than a lot of other players, but he is a player that we have not seen in Major League Baseball before, where he's so good, or at least not in our lifetime, where he's just so good at two different things. The guy just won the MVP, and he could have been in contention for the Cy Young if he didn't get hurt. That's how good he was. So this is a special player that if he was 100% healthy going into free agency, he would get 500 million easily. And you're talking about how much more past 500 million would he get. So yeah, this is a special kind of player that we have never seen hit free agency before. And it's going to be up to the teams to make sure that nothing gets leaked out. They can be like, he's meeting with a team, but no one knows what that team is. Basically, everybody's a mystery team at this rate. And it should be that way because I said it. He controls his market. The teams don't control it. He's going to control what he gets, what he signs for, because he's a special player. Every team in baseball should be lining up to try to get him. That's how good he is. So I don't think it's a big deal. I also don't think he controls anybody's market, but he controls free agency maybe. Because if a
Yeah.
team, once he signs, then you might see other guys like Sonny Gray just is apparently going to sign at some point today with the Cardinals. But like when he does eventually sign, you might see Bellinger get off the market because teams are waiting to see where he goes. And maybe that team might be out of the market on a certain player. Like let's say he goes to the Mets or something. That might take them out of the running for Soto in a trade. So then those other teams want to trade for Soto. So he controls the market in a sense of that's when we might see more movement. But in terms of pricing, there's no pitcher that can be like, Otani just got 500 million, so I want three somethings. It's a different player, it's a different kind of player because he's not pitching this year. And there's really no guarantee when he's going to pitch next year because he could be mid-season for all we know. He's coming back from Tommy John again or the elbow injury, whatever he had. I think it was Tommy John. And he's also got to worry about not getting hurt again next year because you don't know what just swinging the bat's going to do to his arm. So it's even with that, he's a special player and he's going to control this market in terms of when things start to move because we're like a month into the offseason already and really nothing's happened as usual. So I'm waiting. I'm hoping he gets signed soon because I want to see some action in this offseason.
Yeah, it's the reason I started really diving into the youth movement is if we're able to get to that a competitive level, a fully operational Death Stars, our fearless GM likes to call it. If you get Yamamoto and Soto and then continue, just that's it, right? We got to make our big splashes. Now we can bring up some of our prospects that we've been holding on to so tightly. That frees up the opportunity for the next season to not have so much money on the books to get Soto in free agency. They're not going to want to spend a shit ton of money if they only have 15 million left in their budget before that 300 mark. The lower we can keep the payroll this season, it's the Yankees have to play chess, and the fans I think need to understand. The Yankees also, they need to understand the chess game as well. This offseason, as important as it is, if the next offseason they can't run it back with Soto in the outfield, it's worth nothing. If they're able to keep the books open, because they're not going to want to spend a ton of money, does that make you as a fan feel like the Yankees are actually on the right track?
I don't want them to spend a whole boatload of money because, like, I've said it several times. If you have an offseason where you get Soto and Yamamoto and the rest of the moves are like cheapish deals, like even then, like maybe a bullpen, like you bring back Wandy Peralta, right? That won't be expensive. That's not going to really kill your payroll. They still have a really good team because they already have a good team now. I know people don't want to hear it, but there were key players that were hurt and playing injured. I know that's the excuse that they always run back, but it is the truth. Anthony Rizzo getting concussed really hurt our offense. Obviously, Aaron Judge missing 50-plus games hurt our offense. Stanton playing hurt again hurt our offense, but they have a good team. If you add Soto to this lineup, it's already a million times better. because you're hoping that Volpe takes the next step forward. If you move forward with Peraza at third base, then great. You have some speed, you have some contact, and if he can take that next step as well. Austin Wells showed some stuff at the end of the season. You're going to get Dominguez back mid-year, and you're trusting from your system while also adding a big need, because the Yankees' biggest need right now is a left-handed hitting outfielder. That's Juan Soto. Now, you don't have a center fielder even with that if you get Soto, but you can still have Pereira maybe play center fielder. You can go with Florial to keep a lefty, or maybe Kiermaier signs for maybe less. It might be less than 10 million a year, I would assume, for a player like him, but we don't know yet. You can still make some minor moves and make this team good, even if your two big moves are Soto and Yamamoto, because then next year Rizzo's contract comes off the books, and maybe you find a way to move a guy like LeMahieu, get his money off the books. So they don't have to spend a crap ton of money. But if those are the two moves they make, you're adding at least 60 million to the payroll, like at least. So um, they got to find a way to, clear some money, which they can. Nestor Cortez trade would clear some money. Gleyber Torres trade would clear some money. And maybe even try to move a guy like Hanley, who's on the last year of his 2-year deal. That clears some money. And if you move those guys, you're basically affording Yamamoto's contract right there, or at least 1 year of Yamamoto. They can make it work, and they don't have to spend $300 million because they already have a good team, and it could be a really good team if they add a guy like Soto and they trust from the kids they have with them, because they have a lot of offense. The thing is, we've been waiting for these guys to get ready. We know Dominguez is ready when he gets healthy. Jones will be ready soon this year. He could even be a guy that makes a splash in spring training, assuming he's not part of the Soto trade. They have the pieces. They really do, and it's about time they start trusting him, but also realize you're still the New York Yankees. We can afford to increase our budget a little bit to fit in with the top available players in this market, whether it be trade or free agency. So they have, I've said it several times, they have all the tools. They have everything at their disposal to make this team better. Yamamoto and Soto make this team exponentially better. I didn't know if I said that word right, but exponentially better if they get those two guys, because you have a deadly top three. You have a deadly lineup at the top of the order, especially even if the 2, 3, 4 in that order is Judge, Rizzo, or Judge, Soto, Rizzo, or Judge, Soto, Stanton. That's insane. Assuming Stanton is somewhat back to his usual form, that's really good. So they certainly can make this team really good with just 2 moves and then filling in the rest from within. But they got to trust their kids. They got to trust their system. Florial can play center field for half a season until Dominguez is ready. He absolutely can. You have so many infielders that if you don't add anybody, even if they don't trade for a Brendan Donovan or a Tommy Edman or one of those 8 Cardinal guys we can get, they still have plenty of guys that can play the infield right now. And that includes, with the trade of Torres, you still have Peraza and you have LeMahieu. You still have Volpe. Rizzo's there for 1 more year. They have kids that are coming up in the next few seasons, so they got plenty of infielders. You can even bring back IKF and have him be your third baseman off the bench. We can't forget about Oswaldo Cabrera. He can play everywhere. They have so many options that they can fill in bench roles and things like that. And the big move can be Soto. The other big move could be Yamamoto. And guess what? Your team is ready to go. Just got to keep them healthy. The biggest issue with the Yankees every year is their health. Keep them healthy, and I think you got a really good shot at winning a championship.
Yeah, I think if the roster that we have, if it came down to take the big guys, right? Stanton, Judge, Rizzo. Let's make it 4. Let's throw LeMahieu in there. If those 4 guys stayed healthy the entire season, did we have the offensive troubles that we had? No. Rizzo was on pace to have a career year until some muscle-bound ass knocked him out. So it's just one of those. Yeah. Do I want to get insurance for guys like Rizzo and LeMahieu? Absolutely. But we have that. We have Cabrera. We have, if we're able to hold on to Peraza, and the Padres need more pitching. They don't need infielders. I think they're overloaded with that. So if you're able to keep Peraza away from the Soto deal, and that you have to throw in the Spencer Jones, you still have Peraza at third, and that opens up LeMahieu to platoon between third base and first base, where Peraza can get a breather to kind of, evaluate how he's playing. And Rizzo doesn't have to worry about playing every day. And LeMahieu did very well in a utility role. I think that role suits him well. You also have him for second base if Torres isn't doing well. So it all hinges on utilizing the guys you have and keeping them healthy. I think you hit it right on that. Hit the nail on the head with that, Rob. It all comes down. It doesn't matter who we bring in. We could bring in Yamamoto, Ohtani, Bellinger, Soto, Hader. We could bring in all these guys. If the Yankee organization can't keep them healthy, then what the fuck are we spending the money for? For nothing. So it is going to come down to the health, and trying to keep this team young. Which brings me to the next guy I want to bring up that was circulating around Twitter yesterday, or X, whatever the hell they want to call it. These reports about Charlie Blackmon. I don't know if you saw that. Charlie Blackmon reportedly linked to the Yankees. Please do not bring in Charlie Blackmon. We don't need that. That is not serving us any purpose at all. At all. You might as well just run Florial out there in center field until Dominguez is healthy. It makes that is. You know what scares you about it? Because it's such a fucking Cashman move. It would drive me absolutely insane. An aged outfielder that just is looking to just keep his career going. Colorado don't want him. Even in that ballpark, they don't want. They don't even want to keep him. But there's a schmuck in New York named Cashman that would be like aging player. Question marks around, about his, stability. Sign him up. Give him whatever he wants. Stay away from Charlie Blackmon.
His name is brought up every single year. Every left-handed bat is going to have that post from some MLB fan site that says link to Yankees, because the Verdugo rumor ended up being shot down. There was no truth to that. So I don't believe this for a second. I think the Yankees, it could be true. They could at least maybe had a conversation about it, but I think that's more of the Yankees just saying what could possibly be available on the market for a left-handed outfielder. Does that mean they're going to get him? No, because every single time this stuff happens, everyone starts going crazy thinking they actually traded for the player. I saw that post, and I saw Twitter in an uproar. This is ridiculous. We don't need him. No. This is a typical Yankees. They didn't make the trade. It hasn't happened. Until it happens, and hold your anger, because we see this every single year where there's a player that nobody wants. He gets linked to the Yankees. They go crazy, and they ended up not getting him. It's just a name, because what do the Yankees need more than anything? A left-handed hitting outfielder. I'm pretty sure Blackmon's a left-handed bat. Maybe I'm wrong, but no, I don't think they're going to get him. I really don't. He might be the last resort if they miss out on Soto and miss out on Bellinger and they don't get Kiermaier and they really don't have any more options. They might be like, hey, if you pay a certain amount of his contract, we'll take him off your hands. That's like the last ditch effort, because last year
I'd rather have IKF as our backup midfielder than freaking Blackmon. At least he's a little younger and athletic.
Blackmon's an outfielder. We need an outfielder, so I wouldn't.
I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Right, but
IKF was playing the outfield last year.
Last year, there was the rumor about Max Kepler, and everyone shot that down. And I was like, well, don't be so quick to shoot that one down, because he could have a bounce back year with the shift being gone. And guess who was right? Everyone was screaming about, no, he's Joey Gallo 2.0. He would have been our second best player last year behind Torres, if you don't count Judge because of how much time he missed. So we don't know. We really don't know how it's going to work out. But also, it's a rumor. It's just a rumor. Every left-handed hitting outfielder that could be traded is going to be linked to the Yankees in some capacity because that's what the Yankees need more than anything. They don't need a pitcher more than they really don't need. They don't necessarily need Yamamoto. He would be a luxury and he would be an absolutely great addition to this team. But if you're asking me what they need more than anything, it's a left-handed hitting outfielder. So naturally, if you see one of those players available, they're going to be like, would the Yankees go after him? Because that's what they need. They need an outfielder that hits from the left side of the plate. He has some pop. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying I would welcome it, but thank you, NFE. I had a feeling he was. I don't want to see people overreacting about rumors because that's what I hate about the baseball offseason because we have to wait so long until things actually start happening. That's why in other sports, basketball, it happens so quick. Football, it happens so quick. Baseball, you have this lull until the winter meetings where nothing happens and everything's a rumor and everything's speculation. I mean, we're talking about Shohei Ohtani not wanting his meetings to get leaked. That's the news. There's no other news. We're talking about, do the Padres want Rizzo? We don't know because the Padres might not even want to trade him. Hector Gomez is talking about Soto's friend doesn't think he's going to get traded. That's the point of the offseason that we're at where nothing happens. So that's why we have to have a conversation like we did at the start of the show. Should they build from within? We have to have different conversations or else we're going to absolutely lose our minds. So going crazy about a potential Charlie Blackmon trade that is just speculation at this point is the same thing that we did 2 weeks ago when people were like, you can't trade for Verdugo. Oh, God. And Jeff Passan shot that down within like 24 hours of the conversation. So let's just hold off. I don't think it's going to happen. It's probably just a last-ditch effort, and it's probably just even if there have been conversations, it's just the Yankees maybe saying we need to have everything. We need to have every single box checked of who we can potentially add in case we miss out on some guys. So let's just hold off until a move is made. Let's just hold off on the absolute freakouts from this fan base is losing, and I understand why because we want something to happen, but
because the team has sucked for 5 years. That's why.
Right, but it's also that stage of the offseason where nothing has happened yet. Sonny Gray is the biggest move so far, and it hasn't even been official. So, I mean, we're going to talk about Kenta Maeda going to the Tigers. Like, nothing is happening here. This is this is why I hate baseball's offseason so much because nothing happens until you get to the winter meetings in another, 2 weeks or whatever it is. Hopefully, some stuff starts to pick up then. But until it does, let's just calm down and wait for an actual official move to happen.
But that's the fun part of the offseason. And we said that as soon as the offseason kicked off. I love the offseason till the winter meetings because you're going to hear random names that make no sense. There's going to be players that make perfect sense that were like, they're like, oh, the Yankees aren't even in on them. Where we don't know. Every free agent right now has 30 opportunities to get a contract. It's not like only 2 teams are going to be on the phone. It's the fun of it. It's the what if. Could you imagine if they made this move? Could you imagine how good we'd be if we make this move? I enjoy the adrenaline rush. It's an emotional up and down, but I'm like if. As soon as I saw Blackmon, I'm like, I think it was NFE that put in the comments or Medina, 10 years ago, absolutely. Now, I'm like, now his name comes up. It was like a couple of years ago. Every offseason, Schwarber. We got to find a way to get Schwarber. Michael Brantley. We got to figure out a way to get Brantley. We get all these names that come up. Correa. Like every big free agent, they have to get them or the all season is a bust. But they've gotten players that we've wanted. The off season, the season is still a bust. We brought back Judge. We went after Cole. We went after Rodon. We brought back Rizzo. We brought back LeMahieu. We called up Volpe. We gave Dominguez a shot. What did the Yankees gain? Nothing. They're still a mediocre team at the top of the food chain. That's all they are. That's why this offseason has been deemed so important. That's why they also have to play chess for the years to come. You're going to need to keep these guys if they're successful. You're not going to want Volpe to have this tremendous run, and then your payroll is so inflated you can't keep them. So there is a chess game to it. I think a lot of us, especially in this community, we understand that the casuals don't. But we brought up Rodon, and actually John Doe, he's right on cue on the chat here. What's going on, John? What's going on, everybody else in the chat? Will, Medina, Stephen B, Jonathan, NFE, Dev Finch. Hope everybody's enjoying their Monday morning with us. Do we really expect Rodon to have that bad of a year? I really think his injury, I think they rushed him back. I think they just mishandled another player, injuries mishandled, where he just never was able to get that momentum going. I think a full offseason for him and a proper spring training is just what he needs.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to. I mean, I get it, John. He was horrible, absolutely horrible, and you get the flashbacks to Pavano, which everyone was calling him that last year. Carlos Pavano, right? That was what everyone was saying about him. But I think you need to at least pray that he's healthy. He's 100% healthy. There he is. If he's 100% healthy, then I think Rodon will be better. And if we do get Yamamoto, there's a good shot Rodon all of a sudden becomes a number 3. It takes a little bit of pressure off of him, but I believe he's going to be better. He's a good pitcher. We saw flashes of it, a couple of flashes of it last year, but he was dealing with multiple injuries. He got hurt in the spring, then it was his arm, then it was his back, and then he got hurt again, his hip or something. Like he was like a commercial for I've fallen and I can't get up. Like the guy just kept getting hurt.
Yeah.
So, and I think he was rushed back. I think he was trying to do too much. So if he's 100% healthy and ready to go, I have no reason to think he won't be better. Will he be what he was 2 years ago with San Francisco? Maybe not. But the Yankees don't really need him to be an ace. They need him to be he was signed to be the 1B behind Garrett Cole. If he can be like a low 3s ERA kind of guy, I don't think we're going to be complaining about that, especially with the number 3 starter. So he just needs to be pitched to what his strengths are, which is he's got a fastball and a slider, really good pitches. Maybe he needs to develop a third pitch. Like get a really, really good third pitch instead of a couple of secondary pitches that may or may not be good, because he's kind of easy to figure out. If his fastball isn't working and his slider isn't moving, he's going to get tagged. We saw that last year. So if he's 100%, maybe those pitches will be better. But no, we know about that, Li. But
yeah, it's not. Jonathan broke that in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, you're a little late to that one. But yeah, we'll see with Rodon. I know why people are upset about it. Big contract. He was the big signing, and he pitched terribly. There's no other way around it. He was absolutely terrible last year, and it was hard to watch. They probably should have just shut him down. But a healthy Rodon, I do believe will be better. Now, if he sucks again, then we can start calling him Carl Pavano. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he'll be a lot better next year.
No, I really think it was very unfair to just cast him off last off season. Anybody that's dealt with back pain, it's a bitch. It's so hard to get through. It takes a while for the back to get, to be sustainable for that kind of activity. It can happen. That's why I really think that with a full off season to rest up, they didn't have the postseason, so for his benefit, he didn't have those extra innings to worry about throwing. It's at a full spring training. I would be shocked and pissed off, but shocked if Rodon had a repeat year like he did. I really think he's gonna step it up.
He needs to, right?
Yeah,
he absolutely needs to. He needs to step it up.
And NFE brings up something important. Hit those hearts in the bottom corner of your screen. You know how it works. Hit that like button, share this out, hit that sub button, become a part of this family. We always appreciate all of you guys. Brad woke up, and he's also very Cardinals rotation is the average age of 35. That's interesting that they go in that route.
Didn't they get Lance Lynn?
Don't do they? I think I saw that.
I think they brought him back and
I
somebody
forget
else.
where he is.
They got like two aging pitchers. I think Gibson is the other one, like Gibson, and I think Lance Lynn is back. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere. Yeah, Lance Lynn is back in St. Louis, but they could still use another starter. So I mean, I don't like that they signed or they got Gray now because like their rotation's starting to fill out. I think the Yankees should really call them right now and see what it would take to get Brendan Donovan or Tommy Edman just to make a move, because we do have a chance to sell high on a Clark Schmidt, but they might be holding him for a Soto trade. But here's a question. Would you trade Nestor Cortez for whether it be in a Soto trade or for a guy like Brendan Donovan? Would you trade Nestor Cortez right now?
Ooh. I'm going to say yes. I would go that I would say yes for the fact that we don't know the real Cortez has not arrived yet. I don't believe. He's been very up and down in his career. His value right now is high. You can get value for him with the right piece attached to it. I think holding on to him and turning that, say the trade is Donovan. Let's go that route. And they pass up on it because it's nasty Nesta. I think they'll live to regret it. We have the pitching depth where we could afford that move.
I like him, and everyone's pretty much saying the same thing. Like we love Nestor because he's the guy that shouldn't be pitching as well as he is, at least when he was healthy. But I think now is the time. If a team is he's not going to get you a Juan Soto. He'd be a part of that deal. But the Cardinals could use pitching. They have so many guys they can move for, so many left-handed bats that they could give us for a guy like Cortez. I think it matches up really well. He'd fill out their rotation. We would get, I don't think it would be Donovan because it'd take more to get him. But if it's like Cortez and another piece for Edman, that could work. That could really work right there. So, yeah, I see that too, Dan. It feels like he's going to get moved because we know the Yankees want Yamamoto. They were linked to Nola before he signed back with Philly.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the Yankees want to add another pitcher, and we know King's not going back to the bullpen. They have Drew Thorpe, who's probably not going anywhere. Chase Hampton might get traded, but they have so many other pitchers. Heel is healthy. Warren's going to be ready. Clayton Beater, like I mentioned at the start of the show, he was just added the 40-man. He's going to be ready.
Yep.
We saw Vasquez last year make his debut. They have a lot of starting pitching. Cortez and Schmidt are expendable. Schmidt would be a perfect part of that trade for Soto, but Cortez is a guy that you can move with another piece to go to St. Louis and be like, fill out that rotation of yours. You have several left-handed bats that you got to get rid of one of them. And that's why I've been saying it for a while. Those two teams, and a lot of other people agree, those two teams match up so well. We have what they need. They have what we need. So I think it's time to move him. I don't want to see him go, but let's just say we get Yamamoto. Where does he fit in? Because even if Schmidt's gone, I don't think Cortez is going to make the rotation. I really don't.
I don't see it. And his health has been a concern among. I mean, that could be said for everybody on the 40-man. Even Antoinette was just put on there. I'm sure if you dig deep enough, we had he stubbed his toe at one point. There's so many question marks and so many variables that the Yankees can do. and moves they can make. That's why I was like, all right, if they only get Soto, and Li, this is going to wrap up. I'm going to circle back because I want to get I want to get you all happy on a Monday. It's if they only make a move for Yamamoto and Soto, and then fill the rest from within. They have look at the names we're throwing out of players that are going to be the top ask for a trade. That it's not going to take all of them. We're going to have a lot of those guys left over. It can be done. It might not. We might not have to worry about trading for a Donovan or trading with Miami, trading Torres away. You know, it's you can hold that Torres card to the trade deadline. You know, and I also brought the one question I've had with Kim Ang from Miami. Do they even still want to deal with Torres? Kim Ang wanted him, not the Marlins. The Marlins shut the deal down. So that might not even be an option anymore. We might have to deal with Torres or trade him for somebody lesser than what we would get from Miami.
Well, they still need a second baseman because Luis Arias needs to play first. He needs to be a first baseman. Torres, and we also have plenty of catchers, and the Marlins are looking for catching. So what if we gave them Trevino and Torres and we got back like an Edward Cabrera or a Braxton Garrett? Those are the two names that have been brought up a lot. I know Alcantara is hurt. He's going to be out for the year, but they do have really good pitching. I know people don't want to hear Cabrera's name, but he is a younger, controllable arm. He had a really strong second half. He throws a mean sinker. What does Matt Blake love more than anything? Guys who throw hard sinkers. I'd like to see what he can do as a number 5 starter. I don't want to trade Torres necessarily, but I've said it several times. The Yankees have shown zero willingness to re-sign this guy. So you might as well trade him now. And if you can get a 25-year-old pitcher who has 5 or so years of control, go ahead and do it. You know, make the move and get a guy that you can hold on to on the cheap for another 5-6 years. And if you're not going to pay Torres, you got to move him. Stop this holding on to him because you've tried to trade him 3 years in a row, 2 years in a row now. At least they've tried to move him. So if you get a Braxton Garrett or Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, there's your rotation, especially if you get Yamamoto. There's nowhere for Cortez and Schmidt, and you can move those two guys. One for a Brendan Donovan or a Tommy Edman, and the other would be part of the Soto trade. I don't think they both would be, but maybe if that's what it takes to get Soto, I would just be like, all right, well, we're not going to deal with the Cardinals anymore. If the Padres want Cortez and Schmidt and Jones and another prospect, you got to make that trade if that's what it takes. Now, maybe you throw in Cronenworth and you take a little bit off of the cost in terms of prospects, but one thing that is confirmed is the Yankees have options. We know the Yankees have several options, but I would really try to move Torres because they haven't shown that willingness to re-sign the guy. In a perfect world, he's been extended. He's our second baseman moving forward, and you figure out who's going to be your third baseman, Peraza or LeMahieu. But unless you're going to re-sign him, trade the guy because he's done nothing but be a professional, and they've done everything to screw him up. He's taken everything they've given him. He's been a professional about it. He's never complained, and they've tried to move him several times, and he's never complained about it. He said last year he wants to be extended, but they haven't talked to him. I mean, what more? What more can he do as a player? He's been so good the last 2 years. He's arguably, you could say he's our best player because of Judge's injury last year. You could say he was our best player.
Durable. He doesn't. You never hear about him staying on the IL for a long period of time.
But unless you extend him,
he's done his job.
He's been fine. He's been really good.
And I also think Torres understands that there's a business part of this. You know, and that's why I think he keeps his personal feelings within and just plays his game. Whether we think that he's a top guy or not is in the eye of the fan. You know, guys like Mario, would be devastated if he was traded. And then there are guys that are like, God, he's done. We got our use out of him. Let's move forward. and if you are 100% right. What made it worse for him was moving him to shortstop. That derailed all the progress he had made. It's all because they didn't want to spend the money, and that's what it comes down to with this team. Oh, we don't need Correa. We don't need we got I think Correa was a free agent that year. I forget who was the big shortstop that off season when they moved him to shortstop.
No, they didn't re-sign Didi because they signed Cole, and then they moved Torres to shortstop because they already had LeMahieu. Because LeMahieu
Okay.
was so good in 2019. LeMahieu was the second baseman. They moved Torres to short because Torres played a lot of shortstop in 2019 because Didi was hurt. And Torres was actually decent at
Uh,
shortstop. That's why they made that move. And then the next year, 2021, because Seager wasn't a Texas Ranger until 2022. So, yeah, I don't think there was anyone really available in 2021. After 2020, I don't know who was it. Look, it was the
I don't
next year.
remember the players. Yeah, I don't remember the player, but I remember we were pissed off. Like we pissed up on this guy in free agency.
No, that was last year. I was
And
going
this
into
is what
last
we have as
season.
shortstop.
No, because I was going into 2022 because of the lockout. Because Seager signed very quickly before the lockout. And then after, because Simeon had gotten signed, it was Simeon, Seager,
Maybe it was.
Baez.
Anyway,
No, I'm trying to remember because it wasn't the reason. Because there wasn't the free agent class of shortstops wasn't until before 2022. Because Seager, Simeon, Baez, and Correa, those were the four guys that everyone was talking about. Two of them went to Texas. Baez went to Detroit, and of course, Correa went to the Twins for 1 year. And now he's back.
What the hell happened to him?
Fell apart. And the other one was Trevor Story. He was another guy.
That might be who I'm thinking of. Yeah,
but he was still. It was the same. It was the same.
It's all the same year.
Yeah, they were all available. So 2021, they rolled with Torres because they were like, "How can we use what happened in 2020 against him?" It was such a weird year, 60-game season, the COVID shortened year. They waited too long, so there really wasn't this amazing shortstop available. But not bringing back Didi was what people were complaining
Screwed
about.
everything up.
Yeah.
Actually, not bringing Didi back really did screw it up. I think that threw everything off alignment. But that's it's so far in the past at this point. But and let me tell you, Story hasn't done much better. Baez completely fell apart. So maybe they were onto something. But we keep talking, with the youth. If you have your infield this coming season, where your starting infield from third base around is Peraza, Volpe, Torres, Rizzo / LeMahieu. What's your confidence level in the defense of that infield?
Well, you got a Gold Glover at short. You got a former Gold Glover at first. I think Peraza can be a really good third baseman. I think it'd be a really good infield. It's just if Rizzo is healthy next year, and I think he will be, because I really like that he's working with Aaron Judge's hitting guy. I love that. I think that's going to be huge because if Rizzo has one more year with the Yankees, I want it to be his best season. It's a shame that they didn't put him on the IL sooner, but anyway, I think that's a really good infield, especially if LeMahieu is your guy that can play everywhere except for short. If he's a guy that just backs up first, backs up second, backs up third, that's perfect because he can play all those positions really well. I think he's a better third baseman at this point in his career than a second baseman, but Peraza showed he can play anywhere. He can play anywhere in that infield except for first, of course, but I'd love it. I would love it. I'd be perfectly fine with that. If that's the infield they rolled with and it meant they extended Torres, I'm all for it. Go for it. Because I would much rather keep Gleyber Torres personally when I keep saying trade him, it's because the Yankees don't seem to want to bring him back. But if they extend the guy, he's not going to cost you a ton of money. But the one thing that does do is we know the Yankees have 18 different guys in the system that can play the infield. So where does that leave Arias in 2 or 3 years? Where does that leave Lombard Jr. and Riggio, who they just drafted? They have so many other guys. I don't know, but at least for this year, if Peraza starts on opening day, that means the Yankees finally trust him, which is a good thing. I just don't know if they trust him.
And LA, don't get carried away, all right? Because we had started the show. I started the show trying to get into, your psyche and saying, all right, maybe LA is onto something with building from within. So don't start screwing everything up now. No, he's saying not to trade Arias. Pay attention. You want to keep the window open for him to make the move into the roster. If I'm going with the youth movement, there's only two things I'm doing. I'm signing Yamamoto as a free agent. That's it. And then I don't make another move in free agency. I'm trading for Soto, and I'm not making any more trades. Every other piece that we need, build from within. And that's it. Because LA, that's what you've been saying. You don't need to make 15 moves. Well, there's two that automatically will make you a championship caliber organization on the pitching end and the defense and hitting side. And then you can have all the prospects you want called up that we've actually been asking for. We're not bringing up random people left and right. We're bringing up viable prospects ready to go.
I'm sorry. Can I cut you off? Li, nobody is saying to trade Arias. Who has said that? You've said it 3 times in the chat now. Not one person has recommended trading Roderick Arias. How many times are you going to say it? Are you hearing what you want to hear? Or are you actually listening to us? Because we tried to get, Tats just said it. He tried to get into your head, into your psyching, to try to build this team from within, make 2 big moves, and use everything else from within. That includes in the next 2-3 years, because he ain't ready yet, and he's not going to be ready next year or the year after. Roderick Arias. So why are you saying he can't be traded and not one person has said to trade him? What are you doing? We're trying to get on your level here of your thinking so we can actually have a conversation. But it cannot be blocked. Okay, thank you.
That's different.
All right. Just wanted to clear that up because you said it like 3 times and you were starting. I was like, I wanted to defend you here, LI, but you're starting to piss me off.
It's like, that's why I had to switch it a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute, let's recap. Like, we're actually on his side for one day. We give him the credit, and he argues with us.
NFE, he's like Randy Orton, which I know. NFE, I know you're any wrestling fans in the chat. Did you watch Survivor Series? Did you watch Survivor Series? Was that not the craziest thing you've ever seen? What a night! Incredible. Punk is back. Orton's back. Make sure you watch Monday Night Raw tonight. It's going to be fun. Little wrestling shout
Actually,
out there.
those are actually 2 names I know. Actually, Randy Orton, I think, has some of the best entrance music ever. That's my opinion. But I hear that and I get all fucking hyped up. I would love to have that as like our intro. But I have enough voices in my own head, right, Brad? So it really boils down to be.
Damien's just going after him.
It's oh god. But no, nobody. I don't. Who said block? Can we? Who said block of areas? Brad. He's always starting trouble with somebody. He's hype until he proves it. Well, that's everybody, Brad. Come on, be fair. That's why we're saying, even though it's, we want to see Hampton, we want to see Thorpe get their shot. We want to see what Peraza can do at a full season at third base. We want to see this youth movement. I don't think anybody's arguing that point. But we want to trade. There are players that certain fans want to trade for, whether it's us on the heck with Hector and TC, with Pete, the average fan. They have an idea in their head of what they want the team to look like. If we're going to sit here every morning and we want to try to have, a viable, thought out discussion, you have to look at different angles. Otherwise, we could just sit here until spring training and just have the same conversation every day, which I don't mind, but I want to at least bring something new to the discussion, which is why we're like, all right, let's see. LI's been bringing this up. Let's see if that'll work. Let's dissect it a little bit. And I think the conclusion is LI's theory can work. It also would work if the Yankees just says, you know what? Screw you. We're the Yankees. We're buying a brand new team. There are fans that'll be like, that's the only way it works. So you have to respect the opinions of everybody else. You want to debate their thought process, that's fine. That's the fun of it. But we also need to stay respectful as well. So remember that part of it. Rob, any final thoughts on building from within? If that is the way they go, could you be 100% behind that?
Does that mean we're not signing or trading for anybody, or we're still keeping that we get the two big names?
Yamamoto, Soto, and then locking down shutting business down.
That's fine with me. Because after those two guys, and I put Bellinger in my top tier because we need him. We need a bat like him so much. But if we got Soto and Yamamoto and everything else was from within, that means Florial's at center field until Dominguez is healthy. That means Wells is your catcher. You've got several left-handed bats in that lineup. You've got protection for Aaron Judge finally. That helps out Giancarlo Stanton. I'm assuming a much better year is in tow for Anthony Rizzo. The rotation looks really freaking good. The bullpen's already good. I love the addition we made from the signing. I forgot his name already. De Los Santos, I think. That pitched for the Pirates last year. I think he's going to be really good. Our bullpen's already fine. I'm 100% fine with that because then you're still flexing your financial muscle and also saying we're going to trust our system. That means Peraza is going to play more. That means Wells is going to play more. Maybe it's Florial or Pereira. Maybe don't count him out. So I don't think if we get Soto, one of Pereira and Jones is gone, but we'll see who that might be. And yeah, you got a really good team. You got a really good team ready to go into 2024, and that's going to compete for a championship. And you're keeping your financial flexibility to bring Soto back to a long-term deal. So I love that idea.
Well, and that's the premise of the whole thing. My main objective, my main goal is keeping the books loose enough to be in the Soto free agency market. Because if we trade for him and we lose him, that's to me, that's just a black eye. There's no other. If you're going to trade for him, you have to just go all out. I don't care what it costs. It's. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a cap on what you give Soto. But it's the end goal is next season to have Soto back in the roster, back into the plan. Otherwise, the trade was a bust. I don't care. We could win the World Series. If they don't re-sign him, short of a World Series, if they don't re-sign him, I think that trade is a waste.
Yeah, if they don't win a championship. Because you trade a World Series, even if it's for 1 year. Like, let's say we get Soto, even if it costs us Spencer Jones and Clark Schmidt and like two other prospects, I'd love to see Spencer Jones here, but if we get a championship out of it and don't re-sign Soto, I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't stand this team. How could we sacrifice Spencer Jones? We have won a World Series. That's all we want. And we know the Yankees can just spend the money for another outfielder anyway. I don't, and I think if we get Soto for a year, I don't think they're going to be outbid for him. I really,
Yeah.
especially if they win a championship, I don't think they're going to be outbid for him.
No, I think a championship. Soto's like, I'm not even talking to anybody. Get me back. You know, you could just sense that he's already won once. He's already won a World Series, so I'm not worried about the pressure of that. But that's going to wrap things up for us today. Hope everybody did enjoy the debate. Hope everybody does enjoy the rest of their Monday. We will be back Wednesday. Maybe we'll have some moves to discuss. Maybe we'll bring some different names into the discussion, and we'll see where we go from there. So if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button. And if you pointed out earlier, we are 12 subs away from 400. Our goal is 400 by the time for the winter meetings. So if we could get your help getting these numbers up, we would greatly appreciate it. And as I always say, wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.